There we go. Welcome back to Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. It's still January 7th, and we have the pleasure of welcoming Jessica Hartleben to our committee, Jessica being the Executive Director of the Vermont Economic Progress Council, who, with the legislature, created and a number of other key and important players developed the CHIP, the Community and Housing Infrastructure Program, which we hope is going to be a great opportunity for housing development in our rural communities and around the state. And Jessica is here to talk about the CHIP guidelines, which she and her crew were tasked with developing this summer and fall. Yep. They did them in an incredibly timely fashion. I believe this program is ready to rock and roll now. So Jessica, welcome. Thank you. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Senator Berkson. It sure has been an exciting 7 months since the passage of the CHIP bill. And I just want to thank this committee for all of your extremely hard work to get the bill over the finish line. It was truly a team effort, and just really appreciate everyone's collaboration and efforts through January and May, and now that we have done this work over the summer, it's truly inspiring to see that we are very close to launching the program.
Very exciting.
So I'm going to try to run the slideshow by myself, and I will admit that I am a novice. So if we have technical challenges, just bear with us.
And Kiara can help.
Yeah, it's fine. I got some tutorials yesterday, so we should be good.
Correct.
And
we have a copy of this, and we'll be getting the guidelines in a second.
Right. So just to set some background, we all know that CHIP is the new statewide tax increment financing tool that is designed to help Vermont communities unlock housing opportunities by investing in critical infrastructure, and that $2 billion is going to be invested between now and December of 2035. It is the largest investment in infrastructure in the state of Vermont that we have ever had in our state's history. And as I said before, the launch date is targeted for January of 2026. We are continuing to develop and test the software platform as we speak. As of 4 p.m. yesterday, our team was able to launch a pre-interest application form, and that is now live on our website. And one recent development, which I think Commissioner Jepson and Secretary Curley may have mentioned, is that the 24-acre site that many of us visited in Fairhaven this summer for the ceremonial signing of the CHIP bill has been officially donated by the owners to the town of Fairhaven. And the town of Fairhaven plans to use this land as a CHIP project site.
Which is really exciting.
It's really actually super inspiring to see towns like Fairhaven bringing housing to their communities, and that the town manager, Joe Gunter, who testified in the legislature last session in support of CHIP, can now use this new tool in his toolbox, and he can actually realize that vision that he's had of redeveloping that racetrack that sat vacant for decades to bring much needed housing to.
So they're donating the whole racetrack, because they didn't mention this actually.
Yes.
We talked about Fairhaven.
Yes, they did. They don't. And the owners are the he was the former owner of Hubbard & Forge. There was an article in the Rutland Herald about that. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So let's go to the next slide here. So just to talk about the progress that we have made through the summer. Are you guys seeing emails that pop up? No. Okay, great. So this summer, the VEPC Council created what they call the CHIP subcommittee. The CHIP subcommittee was made up of 5 VEPSI council members, which included Chair John Russell, who serves Rutland County, Michael Keene, who serves Bennington County, Rachel Smith from Franklin County, Senator Wendy Harrison, and Representative Abby Duke. This subcommittee met weekly from July 2nd to October 25th. We held weekly Zoom meetings to craft and create the draft guidelines, which were then reviewed and adopted by the full VEPSI Council. During those subcommittee meetings, we had weekly public comment and stakeholder input that provided robust engagement throughout the summer and the fall that led to the adoption of the CHIP guidelines by the full VEPSI Council at our VEPSI retreat on October 22nd.
Which was exciting. And some of us were there for. And just to reiterate, the guidelines are now set.
Yes, they are.
A lot of public input, it was a great progress, a very transparent progress and productive one. And they're now set and ready to go, and there's no legislative action needed on this, which is really exciting.
No. Nope. Additionally, in November, we hired a new staff member, Farida Ibrahim. Farida will serve as the lead for the CHIP program. Farida comes to us as a former U.S. diplomat. She served in USAID, and she was leading the infrastructure rebuild in the Ukraine before that position was terminated.
Their loss, our gain.
Yeah, she's wonderful. And
her name is Farida
Ibrahim. Her name is on the slide.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, there she is.
So then next, our next progress is that in response to the statutory requirement, we were asked to provide a report on the considerations for amending the definition of the housing development site that was submitted to you all on December 15th of 2025. The council at this time has chosen not to make any further changes to that definition. The council is prioritizing keeping the CHIP program as simple as possible to administer. By adding contiguous parcels at this time might create some additional administrative burdens for municipalities that are just learning how to administer CHIP. So keeping the number of parcels as small as possible seemed like the more administratively best path at this time. So the council wanted to do that.
If I could ask, so we went up and down the flagpole several times on what that definition was in the committee during testimony and such. Combination, housing, retail, percentages, where did it end then?
That's a different question.
Okay.
The housing development site is the number of parcels. So right now, the housing development site is limited to where the development is actually going to occur and not the contiguous parcels outside of that. We'll get to that. The next bit of progress that we have made is we recognize that education on TIF and tax increment financing is a novel concept for many municipalities. So we partnered with the Council for Development Finance Agencies, which is a national leader in tax increment financing. And we are launching our first webinar series tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We have over 150 folks signed up for that webinar.
That's great.
Yeah, it's so exciting to just see the buzz and the excitement for this tool to be used in municipalities, and just speaks to what we heard last legislative session about the municipality's desire to have another tool in their toolbox so that they can create the types of primary housing in their communities that they feel is best for them.
Can you characterize who you got tentatively signed up? Is it
Sure.
town managers? Is it developers?
All the above. So we have town managers, we have consultants, we have developers, we have folks from stakeholder groups that are like the LCT, the RDCs, the RPCs, agencies that might be involved. So partners within different agencies throughout the state. It's quite a variety. And we have attorneys that have signed up, private attorneys that might be working with developers and with municipalities. So it's a quite diverse group, which I'm really excited about because I really think that education is going to be key in building these partnerships, which are going to be necessary for making CHIP a successful tool. The recordings will be made publicly available as well, so that if you're not able to tune in tomorrow at 2 o'clock, you can watch at your leisure. Again, the application portal is on track to be launched later this month. We will be providing sort of a PDF about how to apply, and Farida is working on that, but we're sort of creating the portal as we're right now. So we have to get the portal finished and then she'll work on the PDF and we'll get that launched in real time. And then, as I said yesterday, the pre-application CHIP form launched. That's on our website. So, for the remainder of my presentation, I'm just going to give a high-level overview of the guidelines and the statutory requirements. If you have, like I said to Senator Brock and Senator Weeks, if you have specific questions or you want to get into the policy or the details or the meat of it, I would be happy to come back and talk to you more about that or provide follow-up in the form of a written response. But for purposes of today, I just wanted to keep it high level because we're just in the launch phase of this.
And we do now have the entire set of guidelines.
Great.
That Kiara kindly arranged for us today.
Great. So what does it mean when you want to create an eligible project for CHIP? So CHIP is designed to create infrastructure improvements. We're not building the actual house, we're building the infrastructure. So the infrastructure improvements must serve a public good and it must directly support the development of an eligible housing development. Secondly, the improvements must result in new or rehabilitated housing developments where at least 60% of the floor area of the projected housing development is dedicated to primary residences. That's your answer, Senator Weeks. Or if you do not meet that 60% floor area threshold, the projected housing development must meaningfully address the purpose of the CHIP program. So then 3 just little notes here. If the projected housing development does not meet the criteria as an affordable housing development, the project will need to meet the Bucklow test. While the increment is being paid off, all housing units must be for primary occupancy. And applications for the CHIP program will be accepted on a rolling basis through December 31st of 2035. So the process, this is a really high level process from start to finish for how a municipality will utilize the CHIP project. The purpose of the CHIP program is to encourage the development of new primary residences for households of low and moderate incomes across both rural and urban areas of all Vermont counties that would not be created but for the infrastructure improvements funded by the program. That's your legislative purpose. That's the North Star, if you will, for how VEPC will be reviewing and administering this program. So the municipality will work with a developer or a sponsor, or both, and they will need to create a housing development plan, a housing development site, and a housing development agreement. Those documents will then need to be submitted to VEPC as part of the CHIP application. Once those documents are submitted to VEPC, VEPC staff will review those materials. And once the application and supporting materials are completed, VEPC staff and potentially VEPC council members and the municipality will then coordinate a site visit. Once the site visit is completed, the municipality must come to the VEPC council within 90 days to present their application for consideration and approval. Once the application is then approved, the infrastructure projects can then begin. Yep.
Wouldn't there be there's a vote in there though, isn't there? Or a municipal vote of some type?
So the municipal vote would need to happen at the time prior to the submission of the application to VEPC. Yes.
Oh, all the way at the beginning.
All the way at the beginning.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So you're gonna have that vote happen because the development agreement will need to be approved by the legislative municipal body.
So the development plan gets developed with the developer, whoever they're gonna work with.
Yep.
So it's sort of after that first line of things, then there's a vote.
So, right, and then once the application is approved, if there's a municipal bond, the municipal bonding will likely occur between VEPC and infrastructure project, right? But if there's no bonding, because unlike TIP, in CHIP, you cannot bond and you can work with a developer and the municipality can pay the developer directly. You could work that into your development plan and the select board would need to approve that. And that could happen at the municipal, the first stage. So if the municipal bond or sponsor financing is used, then the infrastructure is installed. And that new infrastructure that's created will enable that new housing to get constructed. And what we've heard and what we've seen in CHIP is that sometimes that happens simultaneously. Sometimes that happens, infrastructure happens first and then housing is created. It really is just dependent on the construction, and VEPC doesn't get in the middle of that. That's up to the municipality and the developer. The infrastructure enables the new housing construction to happen. It thereby increases the grand list value, and those increased tax revenues are then used to pay off the debt, either the bond debt or the developer debt that was used to pay for those infrastructure costs.
If it's bonded debt or debt that's directly from somewhere else.
Correct. Yep. And again, this is very high level, right? Like this is looking at this from a 30,000 foot view.
No, very helpful.
But just to give your municipalities kind of an overview of how this could work in their community. And you have the guidelines to kind of get into the details about it. So the next slide is a table that explains the amount of CHIP increment that can be retained by the municipality depending on the types of housing that you're going to create, or that a municipality and a developer are going to work together to create in their community. And as you can see here, there's 4 types of housing that the legislature, that you all have identified. There's 2 types of affordable housing, moderate income housing and market rate housing. The area median income or AMI limits are different for each housing type, and the income limits vary geographically using the Federal Housing and Urban Development or HUD guidelines. There is no income limit on the market rate housing. The percentage of the housing units that must be created for each housing type also varies between affordable and moderate income. And as you will see, for affordable housing, it's 15% of the units that are created must be affordable. And for moderate income, it's 25%. There is no requirement, obviously, for the market rate. With respect to the income retention rate, or the amount that's being shared between the municipality and the state, all projects must retain 85% of the municipal tax increment and may retain up to 100% of their municipal tax increment. There are different education tax increment rates for market rate housing and the affordable and moderate income housing. Market rate housing is capped at 75%, and the affordable and moderate income housing is capped at 85%. Lastly, there is a but-for test. Yep, go ahead.
I apologize.
No worries.
Market rate is basically, it doesn't take income into consideration. So what do you mean up to 75%?
So that's the amount of increment that the municipality is going to be sharing with the educational tax share.
Okay, got it.
So then lastly, there is this but-for test required for moderate income and market rate CHIP projects only.
Right.
At a very high level, I know you all know what the but-for test is, but for those listening and that may not be as familiar, it's basically that for those projects where the municipality is going to need to demonstrate that a proposed housing development either would not occur or would occur in a significantly different way if the municipality did not have the ability to utilize the CHIP financing. And the municipality will need to come in and demonstrate that to the BEPC Council. Additionally, I should just note, the BEPC Council has the benefit of having 3 additional non-voting members for CHIP applications. The legislature provided us with some housing experts to help us in the review and approval of CHIP applications. So we have Maura Collins from BHFA, Gus Seelig from BHCD, and Alex Farrell from DHCD. They are going to be helping us to review these applications, which we are happy to have them as partners in these applications. Okay, so any questions before I know this is really meaty and it's really dry, but and I've spent a lot of time with it, so happy to.
Well, we find it fascinating.
You do.
Yeah,
Great.
we're glued to it.
You're glued?
Yeah.
It's like my
I'm just excited because
it's exciting stuff. It's really
it's an exciting opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm hoping 150 people wanting to do these webinars already, which is great. How are you marketing the webinars?
So we've marketed the webinars by putting them.
VLCT and.
Yeah, we shared with VLCT. We put it on our website. We shared it in the DED newsletter, the ACCD newsletter. CDFA marketed it for us through their channels. We shared it through the RDCs and the RPCs. So we just put out the word through our channels. We don't have our own, BEPC marketing website, but we have our own website and we've definitely shared it there. And we've been just keeping that updated. And we do receive our support from ACCD, or technical support from our ACCD partner, which is fantastic. Hazel Brewster has been amazing to keep our website updated and get the word out. So it's been a team effort, which is the only way that this can happen. So this slide talks about the municipal responsibilities. Again, if you're talking to your local municipalities. This is really at a high level, the key responsibilities for the municipality when they're contemplating engaging in a CHIP project. The first thing that they're going to submit this CHIP interest form, which is now live. They're then going to provide notice of the housing development plan and the housing infrastructure agreement to the legal voters of their municipality. They're going to then, once those two pieces have been completed, submit the CHIP application and the supporting documentation. And as I said earlier, we'll then coordinate that site visit. Once all of that has happened and the application has been approved by BEPC and the infrastructure project is ongoing, the municipality is going to need to do some compliance and ongoing monitoring. So the municipality will then need to verify that the developer and the sponsor activities are going to comply with what's actually outlined within the infrastructure agreement. They're going to need to ensure that the infrastructure improvements have been constructed as have been agreed upon by the sponsor and the developer. They're going to need to confirm the total costs of the infrastructure project. They'll need to validate the amount of the education and municipal taxes that have been retained. And we work with the Department of Tax now to help verify those amounts. And the municipality does that as well. We do that on a yearly basis. You see our annual reports for TIF that do that. And then lastly, they will need to fulfill annual reporting requirements, and they'll need to do annual financial audits of their CHIP dollars. So I'm not going to get into and read this slide. You have it to look at and you have the guidelines. But these are the types of allowable improvements that are allowed, infrastructure improvements that will be allowed in CHIP projects. There are a number of infrastructure improvements that are allowed. There are a number of transportation improvements that are allowed, site preparation, and soft costs.
Which is great, because this was subject of much discussion.
It was, and yep.
No, and I'm glad you erred on the side of flexibility and inclusion.
Yes.
I mean, just because so many different, everybody has a different need.
Yes, and that was, you know, the council took into consideration the legislative intent, which was.
Well, we had long discussion about this too, which was.
Yes, and it was very clear that municipalities wanted to have the flexibility to meet the needs of their communities. And the only way to do that is to make this as flexible as possible, giving the local communities, especially our rural communities, the ability to develop primary housing that meets their needs. Okay.
So, I mean, just to remind everybody,
yes.
this includes everything from building a massive septic system for 10 or 15 housing units in a town that doesn't have water.
Mm-hmm.
They build a bigger well. I mean, it doesn't need to be a whole rollout of a huge infrastructure piece. It can be very specific to a limited number of housing units.
Yes. Yep.
It could be that road that needs to go. It could be electric lines. It's great.
Yes. And it also includes, you know, one of the things that we heard in the legislative session was addressing the flooding and the recent flooding. So in the site preparation, it does include mitigation of flood-prone areas and to be able to prepare sites to mitigate flood-prone areas.
So that's, you know, that's a great addition.
Yeah.
It's a good tool, it's a good opportunity, but I'm not sure of that particular example. How do they make money back to pay back the bonding costs or the developer's costs? That's the only one that didn't kind of look like it was outside the box.
So you'll mitigate a flood-prone area to then be able to build housing on top of it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was more like clear the area.
No, just make it possible so that it's above the flood plain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Yep. And then additionally, there are related costs, and we modeled the TIF rule in the related cost section. So we just substituted TIP for CHIP. So the infrastructure agreement, these bullets are outlined in the guideline. The infrastructure agreement is the legally binding agreement that the municipality, the sponsor, if other than the municipality, and the developer will need to come up with. I've talked a lot about this because this really is the substance of the CHIP project. This is going to be the roadmap for the municipality and the developer about how the project is going to work. It's going to include all the terms related to the financing, the affordability, the number of units that are going to be produced, the timeline, so the construction timelines, and the performance assurances that are going to need to happen. In the guidelines, you will also see something called the substantial change request, so that if these infrastructure agreements need to be modified, there are ways for municipalities to come back in and say, we've run into a snag, tariffs have caused something to happen, we can't meet the timeline, X, Y, and Z. We need to come in and look at making some adjustments to the project. That happens now in Big TIP. We have substantial change requests that happen regularly. South Burlington's coming back in for a substantial change request in a couple of months to talk about increases in their project related to the some of their costs for their TIP project. It doesn't mean that it's a game changer. It just means that these are long projects and things change over time, and Betsy sees itself as the partner to make sure that we are overseeing how the dollars are being spent, and that the municipality and the developer are working together to ensure that the dollars are being spent consistent with the statutory parameters and the guidelines. And that's the high-level overview of the work that we've been doing over the last 7 months. And we are really excited to get this program launched in the next few weeks and see what
we would appreciate regular updates on how it's going.
Happy to come back.
I feel like we're all part of the birth of this. Stories in the room. Let's go home proud. This is it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And it's being born in very real time, which is, I think, particularly, to go to Randy's concern, particularly exciting is that, when we need to move fast, we can move fast. Corey Parent.
Just Corey Parent for the record, not in the lobby, but I got to serve as interim town manager in the town of St. Albans this summer while they were looking for a replacement. We had 4 different developers talk to us in the town of St. Albans about projects that would accumulate up to about 300 units that they've been just sitting on for years that never had an opportunity to get there, but between your zoning changes, if they could get water and sewer there, the density, that they were starting to look at these projects. So they're all excited for these to unfold, and it's a really good opportunity in communities, like ours up there.
That's great. Thank you for being such a strong St. Albans cheerleader.
Yeah, always.
You are just indefatigable.
Yeah.
It's just great. And thank you again for your help on CHIP, because you were
Well, thank you all.
a partner. No, it was great. So we should all be encouraging our town managers and our local developers and possible sponsors to participate in one or of these webinars, because you have 4.
There's 3. They all really build on each other.
So they have to be taken kind of boom, boom.
No, they don't have to. You can.
Oh, well, and you can engage with them after the fact.
Correct. And I don't know if someone's still here. I know
Okay.
VLCT did get $500,000 a grant from MVRC, so they will
That's
be,
right.
they will be doing some technical assistance for the municipalities.
I forgot that. VLCT got $500,000 for that. That's great.
So it's over a 3-year period. We met with them yesterday, and we will be meeting with them again.
So that's in addition to what RPCs we'd hope would be giving already in the technical.
I believe so, yes. Yeah. So we are focusing on the implementation and the launching of the program. Our team has been super focused on spending a lot of time with software developers over the last, since the guidelines have been adopted. Doing a lot of that work.
Oh, yeah. Any other questions on CHIP, or can we shift to other VEPC things? Just while we have you here.
Okay.
Anything else on CHIP? So updates, maybe at the beginning, I mean, we're gonna have much discussion, but it would be great to get an update at the beginning of February, maybe.
Sure, happy to come back in the beginning of the month.
We are going to, so anything in the larger world of VEPC that you'd like to update us on? I know that's not, that wasn't our primary purpose of today, but it certainly is always of interest, given that we also may want to include in our economic development bill again, getting rid of the sunset.
Yeah, that's the big one. That's the big
The
one.
veggie sunset,
Correct.
obliterating it.
Obliterating.
Right. Anything else for either our housing or we just, I think we've done such a big lift on CHIP that I think we just need to let it play out and see what it does.
Yes, that would be great.
So nothing in this process that you see that we need to be addressing legislatively in our housing bill?
Not that I would be asking for right now. I think we have spent the last year getting this to a place where we need to get the bill or get the program implemented. And then we need to see the applications that come through the door. And I would like to gather the data and the evidence. And as I said, throughout the legislative process last session, coming back to you with actual data and actual evidence about what is working and what is not working.
Yeah, because we can always update and change.
We can always update and change, and that it does not feel productive to make changes based on speculation.
Right.
Do you also handle TIP?
I do.
Any lessons learned from the past year
Okay.
from TIP that you would want legislative enhancement? Anything or?
That's a good question, because I was thinking the same thing, which is we still have a limit on TIFs, on the number of TIFs we can do. Do we let CHIP just ride out and then tackle liberating TIF? Once we've gotten CHIP and shown how much interest there is in TIF, because CHIP is very accessible for smaller communities and communities with less resources. The TIF, as we know, is for communities that have more resources.
Right.
When is the right time to ask to open up TIF again? To go to David's, to just build on David's question, is what do you want to be asking for from TIF?
Right. I think at this point, given the capacity limits also of the staffing for
What's the staff of 3?
That we are, let's see what comes in terms of new TIF applications. And if we max out the number of TIFs,
So
then
where are we now?
we have 4 more.
Four is it ceiling 6?
Ceiling is 6. Rutland County is capped at the number of TIF districts that they can have. So
we have 4 more possible
yes,
but they have to be in different regions. They
Correct.
have to be spread geographically.
yes. And we have interest potentially for those four. More to come. Maybe I'll have additional information later this session
How
about that.
about geographical balance?
There
Yes,
is.
that's what it's required by
So
statute.
where there are none now.
Northeast Kingdom.
Yep, so Newport's considering either a CHIP or a TIF.
Mhm.
I'm speaking to their housing committee tomorrow morning.
Mhm.
I know that, at one time Springfield had talked about having a TIF district.
Springfield is still very engaged, but I think Chip may be more up their alley.
Yeah, we had talked to Williston about having a TIF, in the past. We talked to, sorry, I wasn't prepared to fully, they are geographically located. They're not just in Chittenden County or in,
And they're required to be cheap.
no more than 2 per county. So you could have 2 more in theory in Chittenden County, you could have 2 in Franklin County,
Or one more in Windsor County.
or,
It's Hartford.
no, you could have 2 more in Hartford, because they're under the old,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, David, now I've got a question on Hartford.
So what's the appropriate, what would your recommendation be on the appropriate timing to relook at either the cap or the geographic distribution of these projects? If there are areas which are interested and motivated,
I think
should we have this conversation early rather than later?
I think that, based on what I have received in terms of interest, this legislative session I'm not prepared with data or additional information to bring to the legislature to support that. Obviously, opening it up would be great. I think having more not having limits is obviously better than having limits. But if you're looking for me to come in and provide you that information, I think towns at this point over the summer have been so focused on thinking about how CHIP could work and that housing is really the driver, whereas TIF is more of an economic development tool. And looking at TIF as an economic development driver, I would like to be able to maybe come back in January of next session to flesh that out a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think we need to have 2 more tips. To be pushing up against the threshold would prompt us, I think, additionally to move to open it up, which I would love to do.
Yeah.
My question to you, Bill, sort of on David's, because I think I'm the same way, because I was going to ask you about TIP. Last year, Hartford had a very specific request. Is that need that Hartford had been solved, or do we need to continue to address that? And should that be in either our economic development bill or our housing bill?
So I understand that Hartford would like that request. We are not taking a position on that right now.
Can you just remind us because it's, okay, don't worry about it for right now. I should know it cold, and Lori is gonna just be shocked that I'm not clear on it, but I do know they wanted more time.
Yeah.
To.
I can't remember.
Yeah, okay, but we'll work on that, figure out.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah.
Because I know they needed it.
When we talk about these things, of course, we always talk about the good things and hopeful things.
Mm-hmm.
What are the issues that we should be aware of that are problems right now? Or concerns or threats?
In terms of
The success of the program, the effectiveness of the program, whether it's doing what's intended, projects that may be subject to failure or concerns that come on our desk at some point.
Sure. I mean, I think affordability is the biggest barrier for CHIP.
In making ensuring that the houses that we're building are affordable.
Just that the market is so expensive, and from what we, from what I was listening to what Secretary Curley and Commissioner Jepson were talking about with you earlier. You know, because projects take so long to come online. And we see this in South Burlington, the reason for their substantial change request, you know, they were out to bid. I believe that their construction costs went up like 41% over, you know, not a very long period.
Well, this was a project that went to about 3 years in permitting.
Right. And that delay has a significant impact, and that's a barrier. That's a big barrier. That can impact projects. And I would say that that's something that, that we see.
And permitting isn't so much our committee, but I think we need to be working to make sure it's addressed.
And that's something that we see in VEPSI. Those are the substantial change requests that we see are the costs, the rise in the costs for construction projects, that, are through no fault of the municipality or frankly the construction company.
Well, the cost of construction though is again a function of time.
Yeah.
Typically.
Well, it's a combination, the increased cost of materials, which is
But
sad.
that is though often a function of time because we've waited
Yes and no.
and it's,
Yeah.
if we had done it more quickly, the cost would not have been as high, in other words.
Yeah. Right. So I see that as a potential challenge for these chip projects. But we're all going into the unknown.
We'll know more in 6 months.
We'll know more. Yeah.
We're hopeful at the moment, and but I think that will inform the question you asked earlier, Randy, which is, where are we going to be challenged within our own body, the legislature, getting to yes on some of the things that feed up some of these key regulatory pieces. We need to work on getting the yes together. So,
The council's very excited and committed to.
and you've done great work. And I just think that we're gonna end early now, and we're gonna begin our agenda planning at noon. But I just wanted to say, we are so grateful to you for your leadership on this and for you're really driving it home in a timely fashion and getting this up and running so fast. Thank you so much. This is great. Yeah, great. We done? I think we're all fine. Thank you very much. This is great. More to follow.
Great.